All right, people, I've returned with a new topic. All right. What time do you know? Okay, so this topic is going to be old versus new. Look at me now. Old versus new. Are classic cars overrated compared to modern performance cars? Now, this excludes BMWs and Porsches and all that. We're only comparing your modern muscle cars to your old muscle cars. Now, the new cars aren't considered muscle cars; they're sports cars. So, for conversation's sake, we'll just call them muscle cars. Okay. Now, those of us who call the new cars, the new Mustangs, the Challengers, and the Chargers, we'll just call them muscle cars because, a four-door sedan that makes 797 horsepower isn't necessarily a sports car. So we'll just call it a muscle car. So here we are. All right. Old versus new. Realistically, all right, this isn't a debate. Okay. If you like modern amenities, air conditioning and touchscreen and Bluetooth and 8-speaker stereo systems with 1,000 watts or power windows and power door locks and the little button that you can crank the car up when you're inside the house. All of these special things that you can get this car to do that your classic has none of these things. So the only thing your key does, and you have two of them, if you got a really old one, you got two metal keys. One opens the door in the trunk. One is the ignition key. No power windows. No power steering. None of that. None of those amenities of a new car. It definitely ain't gonna start itself on the cold when it's cold. There's not one that makes 797 horsepower. Now, granted, on paper that sounds great. Realistically, how much of that 797 horsepower are you going to use? Most of the ones that I've ever seen are driven by women. There's a few guys that own these cars, but even most of the Scat Packs are driven by women. And we're not picking on the Dodge guys because most of the Corvettes that I've seen are driven by women. A lot of the Mustangs, it's a 50-50 on that one. I see a lot of different people driving Mustangs, and it's not just one demographic. As far as the Challengers and Chargers go, I think more Chargers are driven by girls or women with children or whatever, and they want a car. And if it's a dual duty car, the family car where the dad drives the whatever to work and then the mom drives that, and then on the weekend he gets to drive the, that kind of thing. But there's really not a comparison when you compare old and new, even on a performance level. I guess it's just going to be about what you prefer. Now, granted, anyone can appreciate power windows and power this and that and Bluetooth your phone into the radio and in the whole ABS and braking and the motor itself and all these things. You got more pros than cons with a new platform, with new versus old. Now, here's where it goes bad. The cons of new cars. One, you ain't working on that. You're not. Unless you are an ASC certified mechanic, got a garage full of tools, a lift, and all this, the way these cars are engineered, you are not working on them. Even the best mechanics get angry. I mean, angry. Tool throwing angry because the way these cars are engineered. And see, they don't engineer these cars to be worked on by you. They engineer them to take them to somebody, and you go out and sit in the lobby, or you get dropped off at whatever, and then you go back and pick it up later and it's fixed. So your new car is engineered so that you're not touching it. And then, it's got computers in it. Everything is computer controlled. The interior is computer controlled. Your transmission is computer controlled. And there's not a chance of you having a 6-speed in that big 4,400-pound Charger you're driving. I'm pretty sure all of them are automatics. Not a Dodge guy, but I have picked up a few, and I haven't seen a 6-speed Charger. I think you probably could order one, but once again, most women that are driving them ain't shifting no gears. They just put it in gear and go on. Now the Challenger, that's a different animal. Your Mustang and your Camaro, these are all along the same platform of computer-controlled everything. Transmission is controlled by a computer. Or if it's not controlled, it's monitored by a computer. Now, if you got a manual, that's a little different. But still, the computer in itself is monitoring everything the car does. You got your line lock. You got all this garbage in this car that's supposed to make it more fun to drive. But the drawbacks are when it breaks. See, there it is. Now, the classic car guy, this is where he's gonna drive past you and laugh at you. Okay, your 797 or your 635, whatever you got in your Camaro Z01 or whatever you're driving, when it breaks, it's sitting on the side of the road, and Mr. Classic is driving past you because he's got a toolbox in his trunk, and anything that breaks on that car, he can hand tool it. No, it ain't making 800 horsepower, and no, it ain't got a blower whine unless he's got a blower on it. And some of them cats, depending on what era they're from, the 80s, where you had the 671s and the 871 blower cars, and those guys, no, they weren't making a whole lot because most of them were turned down, but they still roast the tires off of them and go down through there, and they were only making 500-600 horsepower, but they could drive them anywhere all day long. Hand tool, pull over, fix whatever's wrong, throws a belt, they got another one in the trunk, they put on some hand tools, they're back on the road. Your Z01 Camaro brakes on the side of the road, it's broke. Your Charger brakes, it's broke. Your new Mustang brakes on the side of the road, it's broke. It could be electrical. Most of the time, it's not mechanical. Most of the time, new cars break down today, it's not mechanical. It's electrical. And when I was working in the industry, one of the old guys said, this is how new cars work. You're not a mechanic. You're an electrician. Because you got to figure out what's not working and why. And it ain't even mechanical. You can go under the hood and not see one thing broke. Not a belt off, not a pulley broke, none of that. Starter's working good. Everything under there mechanically is sound. It's electrical. Fuse. A sensor. And see, that's what gets you with new cars. There's 50 flipping sensors on this car all the way around it, sensing something. Here's the old guy going, you know what? The only thing sensing something in this car is my foot on the pedal. I crank it up, I hear something ain't off, it's me, it's the ear. The ear is listening if something doesn't sound right. Cut it off, open it up. I got a plug that's fouled. Well, I just heard that plug. It's missing a little bit. All right, I change them out, I'm back on the road, no problem. Didn't cost me $130 to diagnose it. Didn't cost me $130 in parts. Spark plugs, $3, $4. Put it in. Riding down the road, it's singing. The difference. The differences are there. It's what you want to pay for. Now, if you're interested in that new stuff, but you don't really turn any wrenches on it, that's where they're going to get you. Yeah, it sounds good on paper, and I've been saying that. You know, the whole 797 horsepower. Well, I knew a guy that had a car that made 797 horsepower. He had a Hellcat, Hellcat Red Eye. He didn't work on it. He took it to somebody. He took it to a shop, a reputable performance shop. They worked on the Dodge products. So he took it and had it tuned, and they squeezed it out to 800, and most of these cars are tuned just within an inch of what they are. So they basically just bumped it up to where it was right at the limit. So whatever it would do, they squeezed maybe 8, 10, 11, 12 more horsepower out of it. It made 825 or whatever. And then he had another rear end put in it, stiffer gears, and a whole bunch of a host of things. This is aside from the $89,000 price tag he paid for the car. He added stuff to it and had stuff to it and tuned and bought new wheels and tires and blah, 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 and so on and so on. And so by the time he got done, he done spent $100,000 or more, including the price of the car. So, and it still weighs 4,400 pounds, just so you know. And it ran. It ran good. I mean, I can't take anything away from it, but if you want to spend that kind of money, then that's what you're looking at. If you're looking at new, the old platforms, simplicity. You can work on it with hand tools. You can change your oil. You can change the starter. You can change your alternator in the driveway. New cars? I'm afraid not, friend. Nope. If anything, you pop that hood, you got to take the engine cover off, and then the way they're engineering everything to be compact. So you don't need a big block to have big block power. But in new cars, the way they're set up is they make big power with a small package. And so everything is compact and stuffed into this engine bay that is not as big as a 67 Camaro or 69 Camaro, where you can actually step into the bay of the car and if you need to do something. Same thing with a 65 Mustang. Yeah, it's tight enough for a small block, but you can actually get in there and stand up in it. You take everything out of the front, the radiator and all that, you can stand in there and work on the motor. You ain't doing that with no new car. You ain't doing that with a new Mustang. You ain't doing that with a new Challenger, Charger, or any performance variant. You ain't doing that with a Vet neither. None of these cars, you pulling the motor out if you're doing anything. Or it's a major surgical procedure to get anything done. So the debate of old versus new, and we can't really compare horsepower levels because, let's be realistic, they put a cap on horsepower in the 60s. They put a cap on cubic inches. So even when the muscle car era started, if you even know anything about that, and most of the people that watch this channel, if they own any kind of muscle car from the 60s, whether it be, or they even know anything about that kind of history, there was a cubic inch limit. So it's not like now. Now there's not a limit. They clearly, you got a production engine that make the new Corvette makes 1,065 horsepower. It's still a small block, but there's no limit. I mean, they can make it a big block if they wanted to, but that's not weight savvy in a car that they're trying to shave weight on, and basically it's a race car. So aside from that, 1,065 horsepower. in a street car. You can street drive it if you want to. It's that docile, but on the track, you can open it up and it's an animal. But you're not going to compare that car to a 63 split window with a 427 in it, 4-speed. There's no comparison. You know, people want to say, well, compared to an old car and a new car, the new car is going to outrun it. Of course. We're in the age of technology. You can choose to drive that 63 split window simply because it's cool. And yeah, it's still powerful. I guarantee you make a mistake in it, you can die in it just like the new car. Yeah. You can get killed in any of it. Trust me. It ain't going to matter if it makes 500 or 5,000. And none of them are safe. I mean, all Corvettes are pretty much basically built the same. I mean, the same technology they used in the 60s, they use it now. They make the car out of composite materials. But now this car is made different because they've copied foreign cars, you know. Engines in the rear, you know. It's got a frame and they put the body on it just like a Ferrari or a Pagani or any of this other, a McLaren. They're mimicking other car brands. Granted, it's still a Corvette, nameplate wise, but nothing about it actually even looks like a Corvette, and it doesn't run like one either. It doesn't sound like a Corvette, even though it's got a V8 in it that is so high pitched, you can't tell it's a V8. But that's really irrelevant, because if you're going to compare an old Vet to a new one, you sit them side by side and say, which one would you choose? Me personally, I like the 63. That's my favorite Vet. If I was going to get a Vet, it'd be a 63 split window, because number one, they only made it 1 year. But two, if it had a 427 4-speed in it, I'd be just as happy. It looks cool. I'm going to get way more thumbs up just because I'm driving a 1963 split window Corvette. Yeah, you roll up in this plastic show they got going with this new Corvette, and they don't really know because it looks just like any of the other ones. It's got a couple more aero accoutrements to it, and then they have to write Z01 or Z06 on the side of it because they all look exactly the same. 63 split window, you know it's a 63 split window because it's got a split window. There are accents to that car that differentiate it from any other model of Corvette, so you know it's specific in what it is. Most of the new cars, they all look a lot alike. So then you need nameplates on them so you can tell which one's got this or which one's got that. Same thing with the Corvette. You got the Stingray, you got the Z06, you got the ZR1. You got 3 different models, and then you got any number of packages to go along with them that differentiate this, that, and wheels and aero and spoilers and all that. And initially, you look at it and you go, okay, which one is this? You look at a 63, you know what it is. You know a 65 when you see it. You know a 72 when you see it, if we're just talking about Corvettes. Same thing with Mustangs. The new Mustang, okay, you know it's a Mustang. It's got a running horse on it. It's got the 5.0 on the fender. You know that, because if there ain't a 5.0 on the fender, it's EcoBoost. If you're into that, same thing with the Fox bodies. Okay, you get a 93 Fox body, got the 5.0 on the fender. You already know what's in it. It's got a 5.0 in it. It's probably 5-speed. If not, it's an automatic. Either way, you know what it is. It's easily recognizable. Same thing with the IROC Z. You know what it is. You compare an IROC Z to or how about this? 72 Z28 Camaro split bumper compared to 2010 or whatever that is, Camaro, was it 2005, 6 Z28? Okay, you sit those two cars side by side. You're gonna choose between them. Which one is it gonna be? the 70 split bumper, 70, 71 to 70, 70 to 73 model split bumper, Z28 Camaro 350, as opposed to this 500 horsepower. I think it was naturally aspirated. It had a 427 in it, 7-liter motor in it, 6-speed transmission. You're not gonna compare those two cars. It's gonna be a decision of which one do I like looks better. If you're into modern cars, you're gonna choose the new car. If you're into vintage iron, you're gonna choose the Camaro, the 70 model, 70s, the second gen Camaro. You're gonna choose that one. And you're gonna go, oh yeah, you know what? I just like the way this one looks better. You might even like the way this one sounds. The new one, you sit that next to factory mufflers, next to a Challenger or a Mustang. Now, granted, you're gonna be able to tell a Mustang from the other two, but you put the same muffler on them, they all sound about the same. Yeah. I was at a show, and a guy had a Z28, and a guy had a Hellcat. Cranked them both up, you couldn't tell the difference. If your eyes was closed and they didn't rev them up and they were just sitting there rumbling, they sound exactly the same. You wouldn't tell the difference. You couldn't tell the difference between neither one of them until you revved up the Hellcat and it whined a little bit. Now, the Z28 was naturally aspirated, so it wasn't going to be no whine in that. But if you set a ZL1 next to it, they probably sound the same because they both got a supercharger on and they whine. It is what it is. But new and old cars, there is no comparison. There's only choice. If you choose the old car versus the new car, it's because you like the older version. And that's the same thing with a Mustang. You can buy a new Mustang or an old Mustang. Now, I've had 1993. I've had 1998. I got 1965 out there. My choice, if I were just going to drive one daily, it'd be 65. Just because it's simple. It's got roll-up windows in it. There's nothing special about it other than it sounds neat. I like the way it rides. I'm sure I'm going to get more looks than I would in the other cars. I'm going to get more thumbs up because I'm driving an old car. I put an old car back on the road and it's on the road. That's pretty much the joy of driving an old car. A new car, you're driving it because it's powerful. They've sold you on how much power it makes and all the amenities in it. You can plug your phone in here and you can touchscreen this and you can do this and this and that. And they've gave you all these reasons if you're not the type of person that you already know what's in it. So if I was to go to the dealer, look at a Mustang, the salesman of the car, he ain't got to tell me nothing. I already know. I already knew what was in the car a year before it came out. I've been following it. I've been following the spy photos and all the websites where you got guys who work there and they're giving you little snippets of what this is and they're talking about the motor and how much power and they're speculating things. People who are into newer cars, they follow those things because they're waiting to see what you're really going to get. An old car, you already know what you got. You know what's in that car. 289, 302, 351 Cleveland, 351 Windsor. If you're going back older than that, you're going to get the if you're getting the Shelby cars, you get the 289 high power or the 427, 428 Police Interceptor and the GT500s. You know what you're going to get. I've never driven any of those cars. I don't really know what feel of the pants is. I've driven the cars that I own. I know what the feel of the pants is. As far as new cars, the feel of the pants ain't the same because everybody says it about new cars is that you get in it and you can't really tell how fast you're going. That's the thing about an old car. See, you get in it, you know how fast you're going, right? You know how fast you're going. You can feel it. You can feel it in the car. New cars are so numb. They're numb feeling. So you know how you watch videos where people are looking at the dash to go, oh, we're going 150 now. But they can't tell. They can't tell how fast they're going. They got to look down and see how fast this thing's really moving, because it doesn't have that feel to it. I guarantee you going 130 miles an hour in a 67 Firebird or Camaro, you know you're going 130. You just do. Been there, trust me. You could tell. Newer cars, they're engineered to be smooth. So the power delivery and the acceleration isn't a punch in the face. It's more of a gradual buildup. Even the 797 horsepower, it don't take off like that. Plus the car is heavy, so that adds to the takeoff of it. It ain't gonna take off like a Fox body would. You hit a Fox body, it's gonna move completely different than a new 5.0 Mustang would. They're two different animals. The experience is different, and I'm talking about one that's not, even when it was stock. I mean, you drop the clutch in it, and it get away from you. The new ones, clearly, from the videos that people have posted of these cars crashing into stuff, will get away from you. The Camaros will get away from you. They'll all get away from you if you ain't ready. But the debate is not really a debate. If you like the new stuff and you're into the way it looks, you want all the amenities as far as internet connections and plugging your phones in and it charging your phone in the cup holder and warming your coffee cup and that kind of, you want all that kind of stuff, you're going to be into the new car. If you're into simplicity, you're going to choose the old car. So in an old car versus new car debate, there's not really a debate, it's a matter of choice. You can choose the old car. You can choose the new car. Whatever fits your wants. I personally prefer old cars. And I'm not taking that away from new cars. I like the simplicity of an old car, and I like to be able to work on my own car. I can't do that with a newer car. Now, granted, if I buy a car, then I learn to work on it. And so I make it a point that if I'm going to buy that, I'm going to learn to work on it myself. I'm not taking it to anybody, I'm not taking it to the dealership, and, unless when I bought it, it still has warranty and they'll change the oil and rotate the tires and that kind of thing. And that's part of the ownership of a new car. But with an old car, you just get this joy from doing everything yourself, and it's not like going to a show and pulling up and everybody's got the same thing. You pull up at these, Cars and Coffee, if you go to these things, and everybody's got the same car. Or they're driving new Porsches, new Audis, Lamborghinis, BMWs, Audis, Mercedes-Benz, the C63. It's a factory Mercedes hot rod. C63's got a V8 in it, it's turbocharged. It'll roast the tires. It's rather expensive, and those tires are expensive because it's a Mercedes. So, I'm not saying none of this stuff is impressive, because it is. That's one thing about new cars that a lot of people will say there's no comparison, and there's not. Performance-wise, of course, they exceed the performance level of most enthusiasts. All right, just on paper. You compare the new 5.0 to the 1965. It made 200 horsepower. The C-Code car made 200. Okay, I got a C-Code car. The stock 289 made 200 horsepower. That's not very impressive compared to the new 2024 or 25 that makes 485. Of course, no comparison. But just getting in your 65, all the windows rolled down, hand on the seat, and you're just cruising along. Thumbs up, guy. You're gonna get that all day long. The new car, people, you roll up to the light, and I've seen it. They look over at it and they go, yeah. Either they like it or they don't like it. And that's with any new car. Either they like the way it looks or they don't like the way it looks. Just asked my wife about it earlier. We're going to talk to her one day. Her opinion is real. See, to get a woman's perspective on a car, it can be eye-opening if you're not paying attention. Because number one, men always say that, this is something I've heard before, the design of a car, some of them can be attributed to women's bodies. The curves, the curvature, like the 70 model Vets, they were very curvy like a woman. The hips on them and the curves of the front fenders and the beak on it and the hood line looks like the top of the thighs and, all that kind of things, it can almost be likened into a sexual experience looking at a car if you want to compare the two. But it's really old versus new is a choice. Performance-wise, there's no comparison. Those cars are engineered to outperform. And what good would it do if they kept it the same? I mean, look at 1993 Mustang and 1996. Okay, 1993 Mustang made 225, 5-liter. 1996 made 215. 1998, it went back up to 225. That's 1998. The car had disc brakes, it handled better. The platform was a little different, and it made the car more stable, and it was a little heavier, it was a little wider. They changed some things, but they didn't the power. And see, people complained. So as you've gotten along, the power level has went up. Okay, you would expect that. That's normal. Why would you redesign a car 10 years and just keep the same power plant? You wouldn't. So that's expected. So really, if you're gonna say, well, new cars outdo old cars, well, why wouldn't it? You got a 20-year-old man and an 80-year-old man, or 50-year-old man, because Mustang's 50 years old, 51 years old, okay? Why wouldn't a 1-year-old car or a 5-year-old car outdo a 50-year-old car? Of course it's going to. Leaps and bounds, disc brakes, independent rear suspension, all this other crap that have evolved in any of them, not just the Mustang. So yeah, they're all going to outdo it. Like I said, there really isn't a comparison unless you just want to compare which you prefer. Do you prefer old cars or new cars? Power-wise, there's no comparison. We know they're way more powerful. They got better brakes and any of that other garbage that's just in the car that you prefer, other than a radio, Bluetooth and any other crap. But aside from those things, design-wise, is it desirable to look at? Do you enjoy looking at it? Or is it just tolerable? That's another discussion. Car design. That's another time, though. The debate is not really there. We know newer cars are more powerful. Which one's better? That's up to you. I know what I like. I know what I prefer. Which one's better? Well, depending on what you're going to do with it. You just going to cruise? It's the old car. You can cruise in the new car. It's not the same. It's just not the same. You don't even get the same feel. Yeah, you can ride around in it and put gas in it and Bluetooth your phone to it and play whatever kind of hibbity-jibbity music you want to listen to through it. Or you can turn that knob and push those buttons and see if you can catch a radio station on your old car. Or you can put your modern radio in it and Bluetooth your phone in it. just like the new car. Or you can modernize your new car. Or you can just leave it the same. 1965, 1966, 1957, 1955. It's what you prefer. Yeah. So it's not really a better scenario. It's a what you prefer scenario. We know new cars are better. I guess if you want to compare them like track stars, well, yeah, this one's going to outrun that one all day long. Maybe it's a tortoise and a hare kind of thing, you know. The tortoise is just kind of taking in their scenery. It's not about who gets there first. It's about the journey. With that, I'll let that go. It's what you prefer. You think the new car's better? Great. You think the old car's better? That's great too. It's all in the enthusiast's eye. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay? This is the same scenario. If you think new cars are better, it's in the eye of the person beholding the new car. If you think the old car is better, it's in the person that's driving that old car. We can agree to disagree, or we can all agree that they all have their place wherever they are, whether it be new or old. And they're respected on their levels, whether it be old school or new school. And with that, I'll leave you to it. As always, leave a comment in the video. If you got any kind of comments or even a suggestion of something you want to talk about. And as always, I will answer you. Give you an answer of what I think, because this is what this is. My thoughts are just mine. Now, granted, you can tell me what you think. I respect that. And I'll answer you. And we'll move on to the next video and we'll get into that. This is all about the enthusiast that is with all of us. The enthusiast within you and me and the whole community. So, signing off. Keep it between the ditches. I'll catch y'all on the next one.